Hello everyone, this is going to be the last video for today's lecture. I'm actually not going to go through the demo problems available as part of the slide deck. Instead, I'm going to go through a different demo problem. The solution to demo problem 1 and 2 will become available once the code link is released for today's lecture entry, which is the files lecture entry. Please make sure to use these examples in order to get more practice with respect to reading and understanding code. That will come in really handy for exam 2, which is going to happen in just a few days. Let me switch over to my terminal and talk about the files which I have in my current directory before we actually start talking about the demo. Recall that we can run the ls command either on the terminal or on a PowerShell if you're on Windows, and that's going to give us a list of all the files and directories in the current directory, correct? What if I want to find out more information about each of these files or directories? We can obtain more information by passing a flag to the ls command. The format for that is going to be ls, which is the command name, space hyphen l. L stands for the list flag over here. So if I go ahead and hit enter now, notice that you're able to see so many details about each of these files in my current directory, including the size of the file. The size of the file is difficult to read. That's because it just has all numbers. It's not so easy to understand, but you might be able to guess that nums.txt file here is a large file. How can you convert the size to a human readable format? You can use the h flag. So ls space hyphen lh is going to run the ls command with the list flag and with the human readability flag. And now you can see that the file size is actually really big, which is 139 MB. What will happen if I try to look into the contents of the file by using the cat command? I already told you that the file size is really big, so that's going to run for a while here. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to kill the cat now. Let me go ahead and clear the screen. I'm going to show you a couple of other commands which are really useful when it comes to peeking into the contents of a large file. The first command is going to be the head command. Just like cat, it takes the file name as the first argument here, and it's going to display to you the first 10 lines within your file. That's going to be the default number of lines that you can get out of the head command. The corresponding opposite command is going to be the tail command, which gives you the last 10 lines of the file over here. Right, let me explain what we are going to do with the demo problem. We are going to take the nums.txt file, read the contents of it. Notice that all of the lines are numbers. We want to write a program to calculate the total of all of these numbers. So let me switch over to Jupyter Notebook here. First thing which I want to do is I want to import the OS module. Before even I do anything else, I want to check the list of files available in my current directory. Recall that you need to use the OS function called listdir to do that. Listdir takes a parameter which is going to be taking the argument as the relative path to the directory which you want to do an ls on. So let me pass dot because I want to check the list of files and directories inside my current working directory. We are getting a similar output as we saw in the terminal. If you're on a Windows, you'll get a similar output that you see on PowerShell window. Let's deal with nums.txt now. I'm going to open nums.txt by saying f equal to open in nums.txt. This will work because nums.txt is in the same current working directory, and I don't have to pass a second argument to open function call. That's because I'm opening the file for reading the content. The default value for the mode is going to be just R, which is the read mode. Let me go ahead and close the file handle right away. That's always a good practice to follow. What do I want to do with the contents of the file? I want to take each of those numbers and total up the value of all of them together, right? The first approach that I'm going to show here is going to use the list conversion of your file object. You can do that because file object is an iterator. Since an iterator is an iterable, you can convert the file object into a list because of the cyclic relationship that we covered as part of one of the previous lectures. So I'm simply going to say list of f. What does this give me? It gives me a list of numbers, right? So let me call the variable for that list as nums. Always use meaningful variable names when you're dealing with and writing any program. So what do I want to do with this list of numbers once I have read them from my file? I am going to process each of those numbers and I'm going to total them up, correct? What is step number 1 going to be for processing each item in your list? That's going to be to write a for loop, correct? I'm going to say for num in nums. What do we want to do with each number? We want to total up the numbers. So I'm going to define total outside my for loop and initialize that to a value of 0. Inside my for loop, I'm simply going to say total plus equal to num. Always use meaningful variable names whenever you're using a for loop. For instance, here the variable name I doesn't really make sense because that's not what you get out of each of the iteration of the for loop. I or IDX is typically used for representing index. When I run this for loop over here, one iteration gives me one number, correct? So I'm going to use the variable name as num here. Also be really careful as to where you're initializing your variables associated with the for loop body. Especially when you have nested for loops, you need to think really carefully whether you want to initialize your variable outside the outer for loop or outside the inner for loop. Right, before I go ahead and run the snippet of code, let me tell you this additional piece of information. I essentially let a bug be part of this particular cell. Go ahead and pause the lecture video here and see if you're able to identify the bug in this snippet of code over here. Once you're able to identify the bug, write a comment on the comment section giving details about that. Let me go ahead and run the current cell. It's going to take quite a long time to run the cell. That's because we are going through this really large file and then finally doing the processing for it. Let's look into the bug over here. So it says type error, unsupported operand for plus equal to int and string. Where is the error coming from? Line number 7 over here. So my total is clearly an integer because I initialized that to 0. So my num should be string. Why is the type of num string? Recall that num is coming from the nums list. Where is the data coming from for nums list? It's coming from the file. So whenever you read a file, all of your content is always going to be of type string, no matter whether you cast that into a list and convert it into a list of individual lines of the file, it's still going to be of type string. So what we are doing when we are using the list conversion here is that we are taking each line in the file and adding that as an item entry inside your list nums. So each entry in your nums is going to be of type string. So this is going to be version 1 of the code. This is kind of a bad version because you had to go through the entire reading of entire file's content before you could identify that your code has a bug, correct? Let me write another version here, which is going to be a slightly better version. And this time also I'm going to show you a buggy code. I'm going to copy paste the snippet of code here. Instead of using the list conversion of the file object f over here, I'm going to use the for loop itself to read every line of the file. So I will have to move my close function call way down here because the for loop is going to be part of the file processing now. Right, so we need to change this nums now, correct? What will we have to use in its place? Recall that you can just use the file object itself. Why is that the case? File object is an iterator, so you can use a for loop on it because iterators are iterable. So when you run the for loop, every time you are going to call the next function implicitly. That's what happens whenever you run your for loop. All right, before I go ahead and run the rest of my program, I'm going to go ahead and interrupt my kernel, and I'm going to restart my notebook and run everything. Before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and comment out this computation over here. All right, so let me go ahead and do kernel restart and run all. Actually, give me just a second. I'm going to interrupt the kernel one more time, and I am going to do a kernel restart and clear all output instead of saying run all. Let's just run this new snippet of code here. Notice that now we got the error immediately. So this is a better version. That is because instead of going through all the file's contents and then finally processing it, we are opening the file and going through each line and processing each line directly. So this version enabled us to catch the bug much earlier than waiting until the reading for the entire file is done. So let's go ahead and fix the bug now. So I'll have to typecast the value that is being read out of the file into an int before I go ahead and compute the total. So let me go ahead and print the computed total value over here. It's going to take a really long time to run again because now the program doesn't have any bugs and the entire file processing needs to be done. All right, looks like I'm having a lot of empty white noise here. So I'm just going to keep talking. So there is this one more option for you to use the next function call, right? Try to open the nums.txt file and run the next function call just 2 or 3 times and see what you're getting in order to get some practice with the next function call. All right, looks like we got the total value here. So there is this one final thing which I want to mention. Since nums.txt is a really large file, I cannot upload that file onto GitHub. Instead, I'm going to show you how you can create that file yourself. So in the code link, you'll see that there is a script called gen.py. Let me open that script using idle editor here quickly. So we haven't covered what the random module does. We will eventually do that. But what you need to understand is that I'm trying to create random 50 million numbers between the values of 0 to 100 here, and that's what goes into nums.txt file here. So if you just say python3 gen.py, that's going to generate this really large nums.txt file for you so that you can play around with that file. That's how you can follow along with this demo and try out the script yourself. Right, I'll go ahead and wrap up the video here. I hope to see some of you during the live review session on Monday's lecture. If I don't see you then, good luck for the exam.